3:15. Good afternoon and welcome to House Transportation on Tuesday, January 28th. I guess this is really a continuation, and apologies to whatever happened with the agenda last week. The finishing of our education piece on the various pieces with transportation. We're going to hear about district maintenance and fleet division today. And then tomorrow, since we heard the budget address earlier today, tomorrow we'll start in on the agency's new budget for the next fiscal year. So for now, we're going to finish up on a pretty significant portion of the agency's budget. And Ernie, I want to pass it along to you to identify yourself for the record and take us through our planned afternoon presentations.
All righty, thank you very much. Ernie Patno, Director of District Maintenance. And we've got a short little overview for you folks today. So
I can plug in everything.
plugged in, did it not go?
There
it is.
Hey. It's a bit of a mini victory after all of our struggles the last couple of weeks. You have the touch.
So with me today is Ashley Atkins, Deputy Director, Dave Thurber, Fleet Manager, Center Gross, Todd Law. Dave will be up a little bit later. So this is our work chart. This shows what we do. Not working.
Or close though.
You think it's gonna go? Let's see. Look at it.
It's on. Change it on your computer, I take it?
It is.
Um,
Gonna pick it up.
Go to the next one, just to see. Advance one more.
Yeah. Get any ideas, Todd?
Yeah. It's a little white light down. Bottom line, so what that does.
It's the other way they put it.
Joining still. Yeah.
Maybe on your display settings.
Yeah, you got it open?
Yeah.
It's sort of odd.
Still not fully. Just change the duplicate.
That picks it up, but it'll be okay. This time it's okay.
Wait a second.
Hey, there we go.
Work.
And hopefully it'll die.
Alrighty, so there's our work chart. And here's a little overview of what we do. We have a little over 500 employees. You have a map on the wall of the districts and how they're broken out. We have 9 districts. We want to efficiently move customers that utilize our roadways. Some of the major things we do are obviously the snow plowing and pretty much anything you see orange truck related. We have fleet maintenance. We have some technical services. We specialize in some stormwater things that are very near and dear to VTrans's assets. We work on highways, we work on the bridges. We have the rail trail. That's coming very, very popular now. The rail trail is a very, very a big thing right now. We are in charge of all the temporary bridges that you see, the maybe bridges, and you'll see an example one a little bit later. And we deploy those during emergency management, during state and federal disasters. And here's our leadership team. Very similar to the map on the wall. We need to get you a new one. We've had a few changes in this last few months. And this goes back to some of the stuff I started to mention. Technical service, we do a lot of bridge maintenance, pollution prevention. We have a GIS division. We do a lot of, like I said, bridge maintenance. We provide technical assistance, designs of highway structures. We provide a lot of guidance and municipal assistance when municipalities may be having a struggle with a structure, and we may help that out. We have a conservation and stewardship section. This provides administration of our environmental regulatory compliance. They help us ensure that we follow our federal and state environmental programs for stormwater on the rail trail, and they help us out with our veg management plan as well. Now, the GIS is just what it says. It's the spatial asset tracker that we utilize to keep track of a lot of our assets. Here's where I get, here's where I get a little more comfortable. These are the things we do. Winter maintenance is the big one. It is about a fifth of our budget. We respond to emergencies, which we're really good at. And we're good at it because we've had a lot of practice in these last few years. We pick all of our roadside trash. We do a lot of sweeping for bicycle corridor priorities. We sweep our shoulders. We sweep our bridges. We patch our potholes. Sign installation. We wash our bridges. I'm going to get into some numbers a little later, but these are some examples of things that we do. We have a subsurface exploration crew. We do our own borings beside the highways. I don't know if you've ever seen people taking borings beside the road. Sometimes we do a lot of that ourselves.
Excuse me, Casey, is that to check how the pavement's doing, how the surface is doing? Is it
So it's
test it?
it's subsurface. So a lot of times, so say all of a sudden you're driving on a road and then one day you notice that you have a little to do in your car. That would be a very common place where we would run out and we would drill, say 20 feet down.
See what's going on,
See
see
what-
if something's washing.
See what's going on. Yeah.
Very cool.
This is a slide that's always very interesting. This is for 24. This is what winter maintenance costs, and there's some really good information up there. It's how much salt we use in the lower left, how much salt we used in 22, how much we used in 23, how much we used in 24. The 5-year average is 118,834 tons statewide. That's a little low. Our 5-year average on winter maintenance right now is low. I talked a little bit about that last year. We've had 3 very easy winters in a row. And I know this because I have a new snowmobile that sits in my garage and it's still new 3 years later. So we've had 3 very light winters. An interesting thing, saw average prices. FY22, about $60. FY23, we had a huge jump, 84. And last year it was at 86. So here's some of the maintenance by the numbers, a little over 500 employees. We mowed 17,000 acres of roadside mowing. This is an incredible number right here. We plowed 1,529,245 lane miles of snow. And to put that into reference, 2 football fields wide, so about 800 feet, would be a little less than 800 feet, but 760 feet around the equator is how much we plowed last year. So it would take 61 trucks side by side, and we plowed all the way around the world with 60 trucks. So
Be funny.
it's pretty amazing when you think about that in that global. It's not just one truck; it would be 60 trucks plowing all the way around the earth. We did almost 3 miles of guardrail repair. That's not new installation. We repaired 3 miles of guardrail. total tons of litter picked, we picked about 535 tons of litter in the state. And it seems like a small number until if you folks can envision our standard size construction truck, the double axle tandem truck that you would see on a job site. When we pick our litter, we do it when it's dry because it is miserable to pick that stuff when it's wet. If you pack to our abilities with a bucket loader, the best we can pack is 2 to 3 tons in a truck. So you're talking like 100 truckloads, a little over, of garbage that we pick every year.
Tossed out the windows.
That gets tossed out the window.
Thanks.
Thank you. It's a Herculean effort and the men and women of V-Trans are proud to do it. And it's something that, sure.
Representative Perkins?
Just a quick question on the guardrails. That just spurred my memory there. I think we passed legislation a couple years ago where if the individual causes a certain amount of damage to a bridge or a guardrail, we can go after them for monetary reasons. Do we recoup any of that? Whatever figure you just throw out there, I can't find it there, but the guard, the miles of like for guardrail.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Happy to answer. So every time that there is a crash report.
Yeah.
So as long as there's a crash report, we do go after the money for the guardrail.
Yeah, so it's successfully.
We do.
Yeah. I know you go after, but do you successfully get the payment? Yeah.
So I don't know the percentage, but it is high of the times that when we go after the money, we do get it back. And one of the new things that I've seen change since I've been around, and I meant to mention, I've been here 28 years for the highway department, and it's all been here in maintenance. Started at the Middlesex garage and worked my way up through to director. So some of the stuff is pretty near and dear to my heart. But yeah, it's working out good. One of the new things I was going to mention was a lot of times now insurance companies actually reach out to us. That never used to happen. So that's a good thing.
Good. Representative Couch?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I'm the green up coordinator for Heinsberg for about 25 years. Tires have been a real issue. And I can only assume, people just dumping piles of tires on state roads. I'd be curious how much of the tonnage is, tires, 10%, 15%?
Yeah, we'll get back to you. We can get that number for you, but I don't have it with me. And very sadly, when I first started here, we disposed of the tires we picked up by the tire. We paid a fee just per tire. Now we do it by the ton.
Yeah.
So, let's see, we did about 3 miles of ditching, a little short of 3 miles of ditching. We washed 628 bridges, and that is one of our most expensive assets. So it is very important that we take care of them. And when I say wash them, we don't just spray off the top and move on. We also spray underneath, we spray all the bearing caps, we spray the tops. And on these big high bridges, we have a specialized piece of equipment that the central garage services for us. And I believe that's $1 million piece of equipment or very close. And so we take care of that piece of equipment tenfold, and that helps us wash under the bridge. So that's another Herculean effort.
Representative Burke?
Yeah, what do you use? Do you use water to wash?
We use water. Yes, just water. And traditionally so back in the day, we used to use the water out of the river that was underneath that bridge. Now we just purchase water and we put a small additive in it to offset the chloride, the little bit of chloride that would be in a town water source. And that's a lot more cleaner and efficient than possibly contaminating water source to water source to water source with a tanker. So let's see, we did 5,488 feet of culvert, so about a little over a mile. And on a straight section of road, if it's not very deep, it only takes 40 feet to go across the road with the culvert. So we changed a lot of culverts. Let's see.
Already have a question on that.
Sure.
Last slide there, the idea of all of the, I remember seeing this in previous years. What drives that activity on the maintenance by the numbers on the right in terms of what there's a goal to reach in some of those areas per year, or is it amount of time and other projects? Like what, are there goals in each of these pieces, or is it a matter of more the circumstances of the weather, time, staffing? Is there, what drives what you send your crews out on a regular basis?
Absolutely. So the litter, we strive to wash, litter, we strive to pick 100% of the roads by the end of May. So and we try to meet that goal no matter what. The mowing, it goes on, if it has been a light winter, you tend to see us mowing back towards the right of way a little bit higher or a little bit farther. But we have some standards that we have to mow the clear zone. So on a secondary road, that's like one pass. On the interstate, it's two passes. And anytime that we can, we push that back as far as we can.
Are you doing that mowing portion in particular with your employees, or is that almost all contracted now?
It is almost all contract. We have very few tractors left.
Sorry to interrupt. Some of the other,
Oh,
I don't
no.
know, some of the other pieces you were looking at in terms of, I guess guardrail is completely response-based.
Guardrail is completely response-based. We have a response time that we strive to meet. So if there's a hole in the guardrail on the interstate, it has to be fit. It's like plowing snow. You can't just leave it. And all of this guardrail that is mentioned on here, this is damaged guardrail. This isn't something that we said, oh, it's rusty. This is all damage.
On the culverts, are you upgrading culverts? Or is this just in response to culverts that have been damaged that you're fixing?
No, the culvert's another, it goes back to our GIS division. We inspect 20% of our culverts in the whole state every year. And so we have a really good database on what culverts need work and which culverts are in good shape, which culverts are getting worse. And even with this number, we're doing the best we can. But the sheer number, the culverts were all installed about the same time. And that means they rust all about the same time.
And then does a hydraulic engineer say, oh, you're gonna, we got one damage, it's falling apart, it needs to be replaced. How do you know the size to replace it?
So anytime there's a perennial stream that's the water running pretty much full time, whether it's just a little bit or a lot, we do a hydraulic analysis.
Okay,
If it's what we would consider a dry culvert and it only sees water when it rains, we would either replace it in kind or possibly, if there's room, one size bigger.
There you go.
Yeah, so 18-inch to a 24.
thank you.
Alrighty. This is our bridge maintenance program, just kind of showing, these are called BIFs, they're called bridge inspection findings, and it's when the bridges are inspected, the team may find something that needs to be addressed. We have a pyramid, 30, 60, 90 days. And these are the years of how many were found. 10 and 21, 13 and 22, 5 and 23, 22 and 24. And I would say the spike in numbers is when the events that we've had, we get a scour underneath, and so it's an immediate, thou shalt respond right now. And this is the amount of money and the amount of projects that this bridge maintenance program puts out. And this number reflects larger projects. This doesn't mean we just stop and fix a small hole or something. These are larger maintenance items that possibly a contractor would do. Here's some examples of our temporary bridge program, and I don't know if any of you folks have gotten to see these in action, but they are just incredible. So the total tonnage that the bridge weighs, these bridges will hold more than they weigh making them. They're just amazing. And we currently have 30 temporary bridges installed throughout the state. And on the right, there's the towns that they're in. And then underneath, we have 1,670 feet of bridge deployed right now. Many of them have been in service for 5 years. We have a couple different systems. The Maybe Bridge and the Acro Bridge. The Maybe Bridge is stored in Middlesex, and the Acro Bridge inventory is stored in Dorset. So we have some bridge at each ends of the state. And during the flooding, these things go out fast. I mean, they we're staffed and we load these things up and get them out. And I don't know, in 24, when the Route 2 East St. Johnsbury out in Concord, Vermont, was just a Herculean effort. The bridge, we knew it had a lot of water over it. The bridge inspection went out. They took a 4-foot rod, they stuck it under the abutment, and they went as far as they could, plus their arm. We had to close the road right then. The bridge was just sitting there. And, you know, you take a major corridor and close it on a moment's notice. This inventory was just, I mean, we were on it, and it took longer to demolish the old bridge than it did to set the new bridge in place. It was a short structure, but still, amazing stuff.
How long did it take to set that up that you're talking about? Couple days or?
So if there is no bridge there and we do not pour, concrete abutments, you just set it on blocks. They are designed to be set on blocks if you need to. And doesn't need a crane assist on the other end. So we're talking, say, 60 feet or whatever, a couple days.
Yeah, that bolts together like a rector set type of deal,
So I love the analogy of a erector set because I love those when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what it does. So each one of the X's that you can see on your picture, that's a panel. And they're all stacked flat. And there's an expert that puts together totes of the parts and pieces that it needs,
Yeah,
gets that on the job site, and then it's like a swarm of activity.
yeah.
And these bridges were designed by the military. They were called Bailey bridges. And sometimes if a crane is unavailable, you can build the bridge a little bit extra long. And you put all the panels on the far back and you can push it all the way out over the river without a crane. Those have to be relatively short though. But it's a neat system.
Yeah,
So when does it defines the word temporary? If we have 30 of them over 5 years, what does it indefinitely, or do these bridges then get replaced with another temporary? I mean,
So
what's the definition and how do we, and it's something we should be concerned about?
I do not have it with me, but we have a policy. And the goal is if a town needs a temporary bridge, we rent it for a very low rate for 5 years. And we're really hoping that in that 5 years, we try to help them get along with getting a new structure in place, if you will. These bridges will last a long, long time. So the only concern of them being in place over 5 years is they require maintenance. They should be washed and all the bolts and nuts need to be tightened once a year. So, but with the amount of floods that we've had, like I said, we have the 30 bridges out and many of those have been 5 or more years. But it's a tough call. I mean, and that's why we put the 5 years on there because we can rent out a bridge to a town. It's relatively inexpensive, couple $100 maybe. I'm just guesstimating a month versus
Versus the cost.
possibly 5 million for a new bridge. And that's why we try to work with
They're there for a long time.
the 5 years. And then the other thing is if we don't get our inventory back, because we only have this stuff's expensive to buy, very expensive to buy. And if we don't get our inventory back and we have another flood.
This is how we're subsidizing our town bridge project.
So,
I look at the list of the towns and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to size and or financial scenario. It could be anywhere. In effect, I mean, you're putting small towns and bigger towns are all on that list. And,
It could be anywhere, and there's a criteria as well, so let's just say it's a loop road, and say the loop is 4 miles. And a mile out, a bridge goes out. Right? Convenience is, they would like a bridge, but we can't afford to let a bridge out when the detour would be relatively short. So there's a bunch of criteria that we work with, our bridge specialists work with that criteria.
okay, sorry to hold you up. Here.
Well, you don't need to apologize. This is your folks' time. We're happy to be here. Here's some of the things that I was mentioning about the bridge maintenance team does. This was an old Vermont bridge joint, and this is these the plates with the bolts through them that you can see. Those go down, they're shaped like a T, they break, and then big pieces of iron come up. Creates a terrible road hazard, and it's really difficult to fix once they do that. So that's a whole new system.
Is that set up for expansion? I mean.
It is.
So that's real tight right there, isn't it?
Yep. They're both of those scenarios are set up for expansion.
So that's why it's tired on each end, because there was some buckling happening from a.
More than likely, there's some sort of emulsion material underneath that pavement. Here's some other projects we did. Where the concrete deck has served its life. The pavement won't stay to it any longer, so that you grind it out, you fix the rot, and then you repave it. Here's a great example of some of the work we do when you have a culvert. So the picture, the one that says before, where there's a plunge pool, right? This is not environmentally friendly, but the one where it says after, very environmentally friendly.
Slowed it down.
It slowed it down. Anything can cross, whether it be fish, amphibious, they can all get through. Here's another common problem that we have on our bridges. The old concrete fascias fall apart and then they start falling down on the roadway below, and we have to install on the before picture, there's some aluminum catches. And then on the after, they chipped it all off and redid it. This is our conservation stewardship section. This is a great section. This helps us with the things like the culvert that I was just showing you folks, right? That would be some recommended thing. They help us with water quality. They help us with pollution prevention. They help us with our roadside veg management. The roadside veg management is a tricky thing, right? Because there's pollinators, there's habitats. And every year we try to leave 1/3 of our mowback. We only do 1/3 of our mowback if applicable, and we leave the other 2/3. So we're on a 3-year cycle. So we leave things like milkweed and pollinators. And so we don't just decimate everything for our friends that were looking for that type of the pollinator for food.
I was just wondering how we're doing on our battle against the wild parsnip, and how that fits in with all of this. I know that's been quite a struggle. It just seems like there's more of it every year.
It is. So we use best management practices to stop the spread of poison parsnip, but we don't make efforts to stop parsnip because our right of way is, say, 11 feet from the edge of the pavement, and you look out through the meadow for 300 more feet and it's poison parsnip. So our efforts would be, it probably, and I could have a DG would be coming in here and he could testify a little more to that. He's definitely a subject matter expert
Yeah.
on how all that works. That is rugged stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure it's.
The rail trail program, like I was mentioning, very, very popular right now. I don't know if anybody saw a little article, but CNN did an article on the 25 coolest places to go on vacation. Vermont rail trail. So that was pretty impressive. CNN's top 25 list, and it listed places to stay, things to do. and other things that you could do on the rail trail. The walking, the snowshoeing, the snowmobiling, the kids on bikes is just, it's a great, great thing to have in Vermont. I'm open to any questions that you like from district maintenance before I turn it over to Dave Thurber.
Did it pretty well. Thank you very much, Ernie, and thank you for your 28 years of
Yeah.
service.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Only 15 to 20 more to go.
So people ask when I'm going to retire, and I would like to work for a minimum of 10 more years.
There you
So
go. Certainly use
Thank
it.
you very much. We appreciate it. Welcome back. It's been a little while. Welcome back, Dave.
My name is David Thurber. I'm the superintendent and fleet manager at the Central Garage. I have been at Central Garage 25 years and started as a technician on the floor fixing dump trucks and vehicles. And have also worked my way up into the job of superintendent there over the years, so. Appreciate,
Rookie compared to Ernie.
yeah. Appreciate where he's been as well, so. This is a picture of the inside of Central Garage, which
Was there? What happened?
maybe it's come back.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna try
it was working so great.
Oh, did you take us off to go to show us all the transition? Because it was up there, Central Garage.
New Year's again.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
So this is
Funny, we have to celebrate that.
the interior of Central Garage, which this building has been on that site since 1955. We are not in it anymore after the flooding in July of 23. There had been several floods prior, but this back in 23, there was 33 inches of water in this facility. So we are still on site. We're separated. Then two other buildings that are there on site. And Todd has been working diligently to try to get us into a new facility. That would be fantastic, and I'm sure staff would appreciate that. So here is the Central Garage budget for fiscal year 25. And we recommend for fiscal year 26. We purchased the equipment that the districts use for plowing and maintaining the roads. So I have an equipment fund budget and that is made up of depreciation of the vehicles and equipment that are in the fleet now, plus whatever we receive auction proceeds, all our equipment that is leaving the fleet that is aged out or otherwise goes to auction. So we have that, and then there is a supplemental transfer from the T fund also that sort of follows inflation. It's about 3% a year increase in that transfer. So 25, I have approximately $9 million for buying new equipment. Working on spending that down to zero. Can't overspend that, so I try to get as close to zero as possible, but we do have some carry forward from time to time. The surplus sales portion is sort of a moving target. Some years it's more than others. So that it's not helpful, but because it's not the same, but at the same time, it's nice to have that to put back into buying equipment. Our change on the bottom in the equipment budget from 25 to 26 is likely some of the depreciation. because some of the vehicles have aged out and we no longer get depreciation from them, so I don't get that back. It has been difficult over the last few years to purchase, particularly the plow trucks, with any regularity. We used to have this nice, we'd order and they would supply us with the trucks and we get them upfit and get them in service. But now we get them ordered and we have to wait. Sometimes the build dates from the manufacturer are all over the place and they can change midstream. So it's been a little more difficult to get some of the older stuff out of the fleet. But still working. On the right-hand side, the governor's recommended budget for 5.7 million for personal services. Our operating costs is everything that is not equipment purchase, buying all the parts, and Central Garage buys the fuel for all the trucks, but then we do bill back for that, bill the districts back for that. And that has been creeping up along with the equipment costs, but the operating costs have been creeping up recently because of the increase in the price of parts and the things that we buy, tires and that sort of stuff to keep everything running. And then the equipment cost is actually what we spend to repair plow trucks and heavy equipment. That is not the purchase of it.
Excuse me, Representative Fauci, your question?
Yeah, maybe it's possible now, maybe another time, but just sort of describe how the Central Garage, buys all the stuff, buys the fuel and whatnot, and then sort of charges the districts for use.
So
And maybe why it's done that way.
at one time we charged the districts by usage. So every hour if the vehicles and equipment were used, there was a charge for that. That was in place when I started, but I was a technician then. It didn't work very well because spring would come, money was short, trucks would stop running, Central Garage didn't get paid because the trucks and the equipment was not being used. My predecessor, Ken, in discussions, decided to move toward a possession-based fee for the equipment, which I'll speak out of turn because Ernie will hear this. It's a little easier for the districts to have a number for budgeting. Each truck in each category has the same rental rate or possession fee. And they know how many trucks they have, so they can budget that amount. And they can use the vehicles, there's many miles or hours on them, it doesn't change that rate. So the possession rate is based on depreciation as an expense, 12 months of labor and 12 months of parts and 12 months of commercial charges, which is when we might have to send something out, have it fixed at a vendor. We capture all that. So there's a very labor intensive spreadsheet to put all that information in, get an average cost per unit. And then the number of units, and then put all that together, and that has that possession. That is the possession fee for those pieces of equipment. And it's for loaders, dump trucks, pickups, the graders, the backhoes, the excavators that we have, or do that process for each category of that equipment. So we get a number for each. They're not all the same. It's different for each category.
And then the advantage of this system is you don't have to have 9 districts buying trucks and buying fuel. It's only bought in one.
Yeah, they
place.
buy it in one location. And please don't take this the wrong way. It's been done like that for a very long time. And it seems to be a good process. don't want to say just because, but from my understanding, even way back when the garage first opened in 1919, it was a very similar business model. They like leased out shovels and rakes, and I've seen a report which I'm afraid was lost in the flood. So it's kind of looked like a very similar process even back then. So it does work, I think, very well. You know, we take input from the districts on the equipment as much as possible. We try to, if it'll make it better, we try not to make each piece too different. We try to have them as similar as possible. And it seems to work quite well. So
If there's an accident with one of your trucks, does it get charged to the district, or
if it is with,
it's like a lease in a way?
if it's with the public, we deal with insurance. If it is an unfortunate backing accident or something where two of the central garage vehicles hit each other, we'll look at it, and discussions generally happen with the districts, and if it's feasible, we will charge that back. We are responsible for the equipment issues. Backing into another vehicle is not necessarily an equipment issue, it's an operator. And also if there's, which there is unfortunately, there's some operators are better at caring for their stuff than others. That also will be charged back.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
And also the districts have purchased some of their own equipment, skid steers and things like that, and we will work on that. And we have a labor rate for that, which is $48.50 an hour, which is considerably less than, yeah. Most shops now are $150 an hour, so.
So if I bring my skid steer over to you, you can fix it for me?
Yeah, we could.
Oh, I joke.
No, it's okay. I'm just thinking how we build.
Yeah.
But, any questions on the central garage budget? It has increased, of course, some of our line items in the budget are given to us, insurances and things like that, that we really don't have any control over. They say, here's the number, and quite often that goes up, so.
For the record, Todd Law, just want to point out that there are some issues on this, so we will have to correct this and send out a revised. If you look at the FY 26 government recommend, it doesn't match what's down below.
Oh, it doesn't.
So we'll have to rectify that and send out an updated.
I believe the lower number is correct. So we'll definitely correct it and send it back.
Yeah.
Here is the value of the fleet. If we had to buy everything all at once, it would be $75 million, $76 million to buy it all at once. You can see that, part of that is the purchase of the equipment itself, and then the capital improvements or upfitting where we have the bodies put on and the plows and all that gear so they can do what they need to do. And the depreciated value rate when this was done is just about $30 million.
it might be interesting for this committee and maybe the Senate committee, maybe it's just mine, interest is, because at our municipality, we went and looked at a plow truck and a sander, that's all, and the amount of data and sensors that evolve, and it's not just, a plow and then the guy throwing the switch on to, make salt or sand come out. It was fascinating, the technology in these trucks. And then I imagine they download all that constantly. Yeah.
In fact, we use automated vehicle location, and that is tied into the spreader controls in the trucks. And all that information from the spreader control will go through that AVL and can be looked at. And that is what populates the public facing website. I think it's Find My Plow Truck. Or Where's My Plow Truck? And that's where that information comes, is through that AVL, but all the salt information, application rates and the speed and time of day, that all can be captured through that.
One more sort of question on that. We've testimony and met with the trucking industry, and they described the amount of cameras and sensors in those trucks
Yes.
to sort of, I guess, both monitor their trucks and the drivers, how they're doing, and also protect their trucks and drivers when there is a problem. Do you have that same sort of data that you have or not?
We have not gone to putting cameras in or on the trucks. We have just one truck that we put cameras on, and it's sort of a specialized truck, runs out of Middlesex, that was named the Vermonster, by one of the schools. It's a very long truck. It has a very long wing. It could actually do both lanes in one pass. And we put the camera that looks at the wing, camera that looks in the body so they can monitor how much salt they have left. And then there's a backup camera, which unfortunately is covered with snow most of the time, but we have not gone to putting a forward facing camera in yet. I've been thinking about it, and also after having put the cameras on this one truck, it was a couple $1,000. And it seems like it's making sense to do that now, because I have plowed some just so I know how the equipment works when we get it for them. And it's a little difficult to watch the wing on a mirror that's out on the hood of the truck. Excuse me. So if we had a camera, I'll be asking the operator what he thought. If he's had a chance to use it some more. But it's not a lot until you start buying 30 trucks a year, then it adds up. But
Yeah.
It might very well be worth it, and it might actually help with retention, because you've got a screen in the truck, another screen in the truck, and you can see out of it.
Yes.
Do you have such things as Fleetmatics on these trucks where you monitor the performance of the driver and the vehicle itself?
Yes, they do have, there is telematics. The AVL actually is one way that we can get that information. It will, if there's a check engine light that comes on, if there's a trouble code, it will show up on the AVL, and you can actually go and look at information regarding that. All our technicians have a ToughBook laptop with diagnostic software that we purchase, so they can go out on the side of the road and quickly diagnose, well, I can fix it here, or maybe I have to have it towed. I don't expect them to spend hours on this road fixing something, but
We found it handy when somebody complained about the way a truck might have been operating, when we could go and see actually what the condition of that truck was at the time of the complaint.
there also is, when they plug in, we have software for International and Freightliner now. So they can plug their laptops in, and International calls it a health report. That's the first thing they do, is they download that health report. They send it off to International, all that information is there, and then International can use it. So they're sort of monitoring their vehicles as well, but it also is helpful for us if there's a problem.
Thank you.
Telematics are very handy. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Here's a slide on our tandem axle plow trucks. And you can see over the 4 years between fiscal year 21 and 25, there's been quite an increase in the cost of the chassis themselves, plus the cost of the plow equipment and the body and the spreader controls that are put into it. And most of that is steel prices, things like that. So it, unfortunately, it adds up pretty quick. We do specs for these trucks and we check the specs, make sure that they're meeting what we've asked for and do a pretty good job. Unfortunately, we're down to basically one vendor. It's in Vermont now. It's Viking Surveys out of New York. We did have 3 other vendors look the last time we went out to bid. 1 or 2 of them didn't bid and the other one's quite high, so.
Oh, yes.
Just want to point out one thing from that last slide, Todd Law, Director of Fleet. So the big thing, so we're showing what the purchase price is. The thing that's underwritten here, to your point about leasing out this to, I mean, this is going to the district. So this is gonna increase the district's prices or costs every year for fleet. So the district is going to, is every month is going to see additional costs. And I think last year when we looked at this, and the prices have gone up again, it was about $1 million from FY 24 to FY 25. An additional $1 million that the district was gonna see in bills because of the increased cost. So that's not just Central Garage, because we're an internal service fund. Actually, a lot of that's gonna come through the district maintenance budget, all of those increased costs. So just wanted to point that out, that we are pretty much interlocked here together, to your point, that we do lease equipment to district maintenance, and district maintenance is the big leaser from Petronet. Thank you.
We have been exploring electric vehicles. This is a picture of one of our small battery electric excavators. Currently in the market, try to keep an eye on it pretty closely. The construction equipment manufacturers are sort of landing on things that are very small like this, or much bigger, and they're a lot bigger than what we normally use. There's that gap in there they haven't made. I don't know. Well, it makes it sound bad. They kind of haven't made that effort in some of their mid-range equipment. It's interesting. The battery operated stuff has similar capabilities as the diesel powered equipment. The big thing with this little excavator is if you try to drive it any distance and track it around, it really uses up the battery. But as far as digging, it 4 to 6 hours is what they say, and I think we've had something similar to that. When you're not moving, you let go of the joysticks and nothing's moving, it shuts off. So it doesn't use power for just to sit there.
Jim Casey, when you're on a job site, what do you, how long does it last? How long, and how do you charge it? Do you bring a charger with you or something?
This has to be brought back to the shop to charge.
What if you don't have enough juice to get it up on the, you make sure you do?
You make sure you do.
Okay.
You kind of have to make sure you do. But I don't know, Ernie, have you heard any specific hours of operation when we're gonna excavate?
So it's about what you said. So by the time you truck it somewhere, set a board zone and do the actual work is 4 to 6 hours of run time.
Actual runtime.
So an 8-hour day. I mean, it's not like we're digging out for thousands of feet, right? It goes down over a bank, cleans out a culvert, might load it up, go clean another culvert.
So it's got specific spots where it works out, what you're saying.
It does, but if you were gonna trench out across the field for 3,000
You
feet,
grab a different rig.
you would grab.
There is some technology coming, and I've seen a little bit where they have portable charging stations. So you can leave the equipment on site and run that back and forth between the shop, charge it overnight, bring it out.
Here's my next question. What's that charger run on? Diesel?
No, it's actually a bank of batteries.
Oh, okay.
So you take it back, plug it in
All right.
overnight, take it out and you can charge your equipment with it. So I haven't seen any hybrids yet. They're all battery packed, so
Yeah.
as far as I know. We have also this small battery electric wheel loader that currently is in District 4. Last I knew it was in Tunbridge, but they were moving it around to use it. Same manufacturer, same actual runtime, 4 to 6 hours, depending on how it's being used. Back here, we have put or are putting in place 11 Ford F-150 hybrids. We have 6 Lightnings out and 1 Mach-E. And the JL20 compact wheel loader and the mini excavator. Let's see. Don't have any hybrids on order at the moment. I will be ordering, Ford now makes the F-150 police responder in a hybrid. So I'll be ordering those going forward for DMV. We have put 5 hybrid police interceptors. That's the Explorer-based SUV in service with DMV. They have also spoken about getting a battery electric Chevy Blazer, which we are working on getting, and they want to try that around, see how that might fit into their daily routine. We are looking at another compact wheel loader, electric, for Waitsfield. Charging station has been installed. The case is also 1 case electric backhoe we're looking to purchase. Hopefully that will land in West Danville over in District 7. We will have to put a charger in there for it, not going there yet. And we are getting some Hyundai Santa Fe hybrids for to replace some of the small pickups that DMV uses. We're trying to move toward at least hybrids. I know battery electric is probably the more preferred solution, but at the moment, for what this fleet does, the central garage fleet does, it's kind of hard to find anything that really fits in battery electric at this time. At some point it may be coming and it may work very well, but trying to make what adjustments I can as we move forward to at least get some hybrids on the road, cut down some of our fuel consumption. We do have 1 operator says he can get 30 miles to the gallon with his F-150 hybrid. He kind of likes it and he plays around. So I know what I can and can't do to make it switch off the battery. So, but it's kind of fun to hear him say things like that and know that we can get pretty good fuel mileage. That is it for Central Garage. Do you have any other questions?
Any last questions? And I think this was all we had, right? Yeah, so appreciate Ernie and Todd too, and David. So we're almost ready to go off. Just for tomorrow morning, we're on for 9 o'clock, but it's not going to be live streamed. We're having a security training, so appropriately not live streamed. So I guess with that, we